but I could sense that about you, that you definitely care about people, and you want people to succeed. But man, in this business, you either do it, you either make yourself do it. I mean, you can't force somebody else to take action, you know,
Yeah.
and that's just out of your control. As great as the content could be, you have no control on how someone else applies that information.
Yeah. And that, it's funny. So Tom Kroll, Tom Kroll, um,
Yeah.
if you like me, you probably love Tom Kroll 10 times more because Tom's got that heart of a coach and just absolutely loves his students. He really does. And he taught me something really cool. So I've hired him to coach me how to coach, right?
Oh,
Teach, because in my opinion, Tom Kroll's the best coach there is. He has the most success stories. It's like he's making, I think, the biggest impact in this industry. And he said that a lot of real estate investing coaches and coaches in general, um, they say you can only lead the horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink. And
right.
Tom Kroll, he's funny, man. He's like, that's such bull crap. He's like, if you really he's like, if you really love that horse, you're gonna cup your head, you're gonna bring that water to that horse. You know what I mean? Like Tom is, and he's like, so Zach, you bring that cup of water to that horse. He's like, you do everything you can to make those students successful. And so that's what I love about Tom. And I don't know if you heard about my challenge that I'm doing, but I'm going to Florida for 40 days. I get $1,000, and I'm doing that because of that main, like, I'm bringing water to the horse. Like I was thinking, like, how do I get these people to like believe in me, believe in the process, like believe that it can be done? Because so many people like get it in their heads that, oh, well, Zach's different. Tom Kroll's different.
Yeah.
Like these guys have gotten there because they're just different type of people. And when they talk to us now, they don't see that real, human being, just the nerdy people that we are,
Right.
and so that is totally 100%, that concept of bringing water to the horse instead of just saying, oh, I can't do anything about it, so.
Yeah, well, man, much respect for that. I read that. I think that's amazing. And I think you can do it, man. I really do believe in this concept that you're teaching. I'm sure we'll get into that, but I mean, I think it's very unique, and it seems old school. And you see a lot of people getting into this space right now. Everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel, and you see people say all the time, "Oh, driving for dollars don't work," or "This doesn't work," but um, they don't know what they're talking about,
Yeah.
because it absolutely works if you're consistent with it, and you apply it consistently over time. It's very effective.
Yeah. It's that age old concept. Take advice from people that are doing or have accomplished what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of people that are willing to give their advice, but they have no freaking clue what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
The blind leading the blind end up in a ditch.
No question. No question.
Well, let's do the intro. I'm actually probably going to use that content we're just covering because I think it's great stuff. But let's get into this. So if for the listeners that are here, welcome back. If this is the first time you are here to the DFD Mastery channel, our main focus is to help you understand the main important thing in a real estate investor's business is a marketing channel that consistently provides discounted deals. It is the most discouraging, frustrating thing if you can't find discounted deals when you're spending more money than you're making because you can't find deals. It doesn't have to be that way. That's why I share my driving for dollars system with myself, with Richard here, one of my students, with all my students all across the country. This system is making an absolute fortune. I feel very fortunate to be here to be able to interview Richard and talk about his success. And hopefully this inspires you guys to take action. If you want to get more in-depth detail of exactly how we find these discounted deals, go to my free webinar at dfdmastery.com and sign up, register for that webinar, and we will deep dive exactly what we're doing. So, Richard, let's talk about you. You've been able to be successful. I haven't been in contact as much with you as I would have liked. Before I started recording this, I had thanked you for leaving such a nice review on the Facebook page. And it came in the evening that I needed it because I was discouraged. I felt beat up because I have a goal of having 50 success stories this year. That's my main focus. And I felt discouraged because I was worried about cash flow, and I started doing Facebook ads, and I've been trying to build this business so I can get those 50 success stories. And it's discouraging and it's hard and it's uncomfortable, right? Just like any entrepreneur can relate with, running and growing a business is not easy. So thank you for the review. Thank you for being the wonderful person that you are, and doing that because you believe in what I'm doing. So Richard, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Zach. It's an honor, man. I think what you're doing is very, very special, and in the heart of that you share things with. And, even though we haven't been in contact a lot, you have continued to reach out to me, different times. That's one thing I really appreciated about you is, I don't feel like you've kind of left me high and dry or anything like that. I mean, you continue to reach out many, many times. And, I'm more of a quiet person. I don't post a ton about the deals that I do. Kind of like to keep my business private in that way. But, I don't make no mistake about it, man. This last year was an amazing year. It was my first calendar year in business. And when I met you at the Wholesaling Inc. conference in Asheville in 2018,
October, right?
Yes, October 2018, I had just went out on my own. And so it was a huge step.
Before we talk about that first year, why don't you tell us about before then? Tell us before the 2018 October. Like, what were you doing? What got you into real estate?
So I'm a registered nurse. I'm still licensed.
Awesome.
I worked in surgery for 9 years.
Okay.
And so in nursing, I worked three 12-hour shifts. And my wife, we were about to start having children and having those conversations. And, our goals were, and she's a nurse too, and we wanted her to be able to come home, especially when our kids were small. And, even though, people, you think nurses make good money, and nurses make solid money, but to live the way that we were living on two nurses' salary, I knew that I couldn't do it just on my own as a nurse. So that kind of took me into this several year journey of adding to, I was working as a nurse 3 days a week. Then I started selling life insurance. That's what kind of got me into sales. And I was doing door-to-door sales, which is, I'd never done anything like that ever in my life.
Good. But everyone should be required to do that. Door-to-door sales, at least for a day in their life.
Yeah. Well, I actually did it. The first door, I'll never forget it. This is how green I was and how just totally scared I was. The first lead I had, I pulled up to the house and I literally stared at the door for 30 minutes.
Love it.
I sat in my car, I looked at it and I was like, man, they're going to think I'm crazy. Like, there's no way. And I would love to say that I knocked on the door and I got the sale, but I didn't. I left. I literally left. I drove away and I never knocked on that door. So that's where I started from. And, but actually I started getting good at it, just because out of knowing that my family, in order for my children to have their mom at home full time, I had to push through that. I had to push through those barriers of fear. And that was what drove me to, eventually get good at it. And then I had several agents begin to work under me later on. So that's kind of my background. And then I found out I'd always been interested in real estate. Our first home that we purchased, I turned that into a rental property. I think back in 2010, and then I bought a foreclosure around the same time after the market crashed, and bought it at a good price. And we lived in it for a couple of years and then sold it and made, a nice little chunk of money. So I felt like real estate was in my future in some way. And so anyway, that kind of led me to wholesaling, and YouTube University. You start finding this person and this person and this person, and then I actually have a really good friend who you'd probably know. About the same time, he started doing Tom's course, Wholesaling Inc. And so I really just kind of piggybacked along with him, and I started working with him in September of 2017,
And
and
what market are you in?
I'm in Louisville,
Okay.
Kentucky.
Okay.
And I I was brought on for dispositions, and so helped build a massive cash buyers list. I think in my first 2 months there, I was literally on the phone, on email, computer, 5-6 hours a day, 10 hours a day. I mean, I'm sorry, 10 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. Went from about 500 cash buyers to about 4,400. Uh,
Love it.
and then, so that's kind of how I started. Then I transitioned into acquisitions. Then I was doing more and more, helping contract to close, and got involved in marketing and cold calling. And so I kind of learned the whole business. And, in about 11 months in, that's whenever, my goals started changing. And that's when I decided, it was time for me to go out on my own. And I did it. And man, it definitely hasn't been easy at all, but the greatest decision I've ever made, you know.
Love it. So you went out on your own around October then of 2018?
18, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
2018. And, it's just crazy. I've been blessed to have great people around me, um, good friendships, relationships. And that's really been the key to my business, networking. I have lots of referrals. That's been really the lifeblood of my business, actually.
Love it.
So when I met you in Asheville, and I was wanting to start another marketing stream that I felt like might be different, that not everybody else is doing. And
And why did you want to do that? Like what made you think I need marketing? Like why?
Because generating more leads. I needed to generate more leads because I wanted to begin to scale. I wanted to, I just felt like there's so much opportunity. I knew what I was already doing. Uh, to increase revenue, to scale. I mean, that was really the main, I guess, driving force to begin to look for more,
Yeah.
knowing that, I mean, referrals are really good. Networking is really good. I sent out mail based on, some different list that everybody's, absentee owners and that kind of stuff, probates. But I just wanted something else, that I felt might help boost the income.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
So when did
keep my wife at home, man.
no, isn't it beautiful the power that love has on us? I joke with my wife all the time. I always tell her, "You married me for my money, and I married you for your looks." I tell her that all the time. But I was so broke. I was so broke when we got married. We truly got married for love, and she's a gorgeous girl. So that's why it's so funny. But my love for my family, my love for my wife, and wanting her to give the best life possible has really pushed me and driven me, and it sounds like you as well, to get out of our comfort zone and to be selfless, right? And like you said, you were willing to go knock on a door and get good at sales even though it terrified you. But what a blessing that's become in your life. It's funny how often we hear and see guys talk about how much fun life is when you're free and you're single, and it's just crazy how much purpose a family can give, and how much stability and real peace and joy that can bring, taking care of that family. So I really respect you and admire you for having that core value in your life, and that you've been willing to be uncomfortable, because there's so many people that go, if it's uncomfortable, I don't want anything to do with it,
And it's interesting. I I hear stories all the time, especially now that I've been in the business long enough for people to know I'm not going anywhere. And
Yeah.
and people start bringing questions, and you start seeing people struggling. And I hear people say, I love my family, or I want this, or I want this out of life, right? But they're not willing to do. I want to be careful how I know we're all in different places, but they're not willing to kind of push through that pain. It's like, how bad do you really want it? Are you willing to look foolish? Are you willing to fail? Are you willing to to fail? I mean, are you willing to put it all on the line, put all the cards on the table, and literally kind of go there to achieve what you say your goal is.
Yeah.
And for me, my family means everything to me. You know, my
Yeah.
kids, I've been married for 21 years. I've got a 6-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter. And man, this last year, Zach, I I had three. This is what this business has done for me. I had 3 deaths in my family in February of 2019, kind of unexpectedly. I was able to be away from my market. I was in Texas and Mississippi for 25 out of 30 days. Okay. I was able to take um, an awesome spring break trip with my kids. We went to Disney World in the summer. We had an awesome fall break with my mother turned 70. So we went to Gatlinburg to the mountains and hired a photographer to do family pictures with everybody.
Hmm.
And I think I calculated it up, and I was gone almost 3 months out of Louisville this last year. And
Hmm.
yet I turn around and I look, because I'm doing taxes right now, and I'm kind of scared.
Uncle Sam gets his portion, right?
Yeah, yeah. But having said that, man, it's just to be able to do that. And I look back, and some of the nights you have those conversations with your wife, and literally in tears. And she believed in me the whole time. She believed in the plan. We trusted God. And I mean, that was when you learn to trust God as your provider. A lot of people talk like that. A lot of people say that, but whenever it really becomes real, and you begin to see God work, and this is just from my perspective, not trying to get super religious or anything, but I just know for me, God has definitely um, blessed and helped carry me through all of this. So it's been a great year.
That's awesome. So let's get a little more granular.
Sure.
It's so wonderful. I have a YouTube video as well where I talk about my life before and my life after with wholesaling, and I did an interview with me and my wife. It is pretty powerful, the changes, and there's so much gratitude, and I believe that there is a higher power as well that wants us to have the best possible life ever. Um, but a lot of that depends on us. A lot of that depends on us being willing to be uncomfortable and to not make excuses, because there's always an excuse. I just interviewed a gal just a couple hours ago before you, single mom, 3 kids, quit her job, sole provider, and she made it a reality. And there's always excuses. There's always reasons to not do it. So going into your story, I'm sure people want to know, when did you join my course? When did you jump in?
Let's see. I think it was around March to April of 2019. I don't have. I'm sorry, I didn't look up like exact dates
So
or anything.
you were you were
It
you
was like
were
a trial
one
course.
of my first students then.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So you've got to see all the improvements and add-on and bonuses, and just
Yeah.
continually have dumped into helping my students from the first time I started coaching, and then with you and some of the other students from the beginning, a lot of the changes and evolving this model, this marketing structure. So this is fun, that we're getting to interview you this far through the process. And like you said, you've kind of been quiet about your success, but you don't have to share anything you don't want to. But if you would like to, how many driving for dollars deals have you done since then?
So since April, goodness, I should have known to prepare for this. I think it's probably between 12 to 15. Um, and that a lot of that has been in the last few months. I really have gotten serious about it. Um, I would say towards kind of the fall, going into,
Yeah.
towards the end of 2019. I've been training well, you don't know this, but I've been training an acquisitions manager. I've been training um, someone to help me keep marketing going. So I've been doing,
Love it.
I've got rental properties. I'm doing flips. Uh,
Don't do it. Don't do it.
so I've been very busy, very busy, but the driving for dollars has really taken, um, I would say that's just been really since the fall, but they've been very profitable. I mean, they've
Yeah.
been over 6 figures. well over six figures in just those deals. So, um,
Gotcha. So what's your, do you know roughly your average deal size for those? You said you've done roughly 15, you've done over $100,000 just from driving from dollars,
yeah.
which is incredible. I mean, how much were you making a year as a registered nurse
Oh man,
working
50,
36 hours a week?
55, maybe 60 a
So
year.
got a college degree making $60,000, and within a few months, you're doubling, right? Your
Yeah.
your income.
Yeah. This and not only, I mean, all the income has been great, but I'm also I've got a partner that I've got 29 rental properties just in this last year,
Wow.
um,
Wow.
and so just being able to control your deals from the beginning, um, and wholesaling teaches us that. Acquisitions teaches us that, but that's where it all starts. But then to be able to get those deals at a low enough price where I can still wholesale. I basically wholesaled a deal to my holding company. That makes sense.
Yep.
So
Yeah, you cherry pick. You're basically
yeah,
picking up properties. Yeah.
yeah. I'm paying myself a little bit on the front end, getting the properties rent ready if they're not already rent ready, and then burning out. And so it's just been really an awesome system for me.
So when you say burring out, so will you share what that means for listeners that don't know what that means?
Sure. So I gotta write it down. You buy, you
Buy.
rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. That's it.
Yep.
Um, and so, we've gotten a couple of banks to work with us, and anywhere from 75% to 80% of the appraised value, they will loan back to us on the house. And we would never leverage more than, 80%. Um, cash flow metrics come into play there. And, just kind of the area of town, might determine maybe I'm only going to do 75%. But if you're buying your deals right, you're out of the deal with no skin in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got your money back. You've got an appreciating asset. You've got cash flow, and that's life changing. Like wholesaling is awesome. Man. I mean, it is awesome. I love it. I believe in it. I do it. It's my primary business. But acquiring assets, if you want to talk about long term wealth and sustainability and changing your family tree, that's, in my opinion, that's where it's at. Collecting as many assets as you can.
It's beautiful. You're creating generational wealth. You're creating a legacy. You're providing a life that that a lot of people have never imagined. For their children, that their children and their children's children will be able to be educated where they want, on what they want. You know, Being able to start life off with so much more, not just things, but opportunities, right? And you will be that person that set that up. Not only will you be able to provide the money, but also the education and the culture within your own family. The
Yeah.
education is so important. The self-improvement is so important. You'll be able to teach them about money and how money works, teaching them about investments. I grew up pretty poor. Money was a taboo topic in my house. And, I still don't talk about money with my siblings and my parents for the most part. But my children will grow up and have that opportunity. And it sounds like your family will as well. And so it is beautiful. I talk about the importance of having a real estate investment uh, marketing source to provide those deals. Because if you can't find discounted deals, you can't find good rentals, right? If you're depending on a real estate agent to find you deals, if you're depending on a third party, PPC company, you're going to really, really struggle in this business. If your wholesaler is the only one finding you deals,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
there is a ton of meat that's already been eaten. You're getting the scraps off that bone if that's the only way you're finding. I'm not saying that you can't make money buying properties off wholesalers, but if you really want to get to the next level, is being the one that's negotiating with those sellers,
Right.
because you can do things like seller finance and pick properties up for a matter of $1,000 to $2,000. I've purchased a property for a full penny, right? Like
Nice.
They deeded the property to me for a penny. So the thing is you're able to negotiate some incredible deals and can change your life. So Richard, you've done amazing. You've been able to take this strategy and build generational wealth. You've been able to pick up rentals, right? You've been able to wholesale, produce, amazing cash to be able to find freedom for your family financially. But it also sounds like you've been able to create time as well. You have so much time freedom. You have your cake and you're eating it too, right?
Well, and from the outside looking in, and I'm sure the people that listen to this video, they'll hear that, and it's very, it sounds great, but I'm telling you, behind all of that, man, there were tears, there was fear, there was anxiety, there was a lot of prayer, a lot of belief. I mean, and I'm this business is not. I would say it's not easy. It's a lot easier when you find people who are doing it and doing it right, like you,
Yes.
like Tom, like the whole wholesaling crew. Um, find people who have already done it, who have built a proven system, and just try to do exactly what they're doing. Like there's no need to try to be smarter than them or recreate anything else. Just literally, I'm going to do exactly what you do because I see that it works, and that's the key. Is those strategic partnerships, mentorships, finding education, and people that you can trust, and all the wholesaling in crew is just it really really works. You guys do what you say.
Love it. Love
It's
it.
not
Well,
theory.
yeah. So I love what you said. That's been the key to my success for the most part, is hiring someone to give me a step-by-step process to be successful. This coaching course that I have, the marketing driving for dollars mastery system that you purchased, it's given you a ton of your leads. It's given me most of my leads. It's been a combination of some other successful real estate investors. We put our heads together and came up with this system. If guys that are listening, guys and gals that are listening, if you want to learn more about this marketing system, go to my free webinar where we're going to deep dive it. It's dfdmastery.com. It'll also be in the show notes. Richard, thank you so much for jumping on. Thank you for your story and being willing to share it and encourage others. This can be done. It is scary, right? It can be uncomfortable, but it is not a complicated process. Follow the steps, and don't overthink this. And hopefully I will see you shortly on a live webinar where I get a deep dive this process and help you guys become successful real estate investors. Richard, thanks again for being on here, and look forward to talking to you again on our Facebook group and in other platforms.
Absolutely, Zach. Thank you, man. Hey, can I say one other thing?
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you why I think driving for dollars is so effective. And for me, and this may be helpful for some or not, but for me, it's about timing. And I think in a sales cycle, when sellers, it's all about being present when the sellers are ready to sell. Like whenever the pain threshold is hit hard enough that they're ready to pull the trigger. And those are the best deals. And the thing that driving for dollars does is it allows you to see the pain, if that makes sense. So your timing, you're actually seeing the properties, or somebody on your team is seeing the properties. And so when you're reaching out to them, that property is in a state of distress. Just because it's an absentee owner doesn't mean that it's in a state of distress. And if you're just mailing out to absentee owner list all the time, you just hope that your mailer goes out at the right time and that you've put enough of them out there that it's in front of their face. But if I'm going by and I see a sit out and I see shutters falling over and I see a house that's in clear distress, vacant, and I call them up and I say, hey, I was just driving through the neighborhood and I just noticed the house here. It looks like something's going on or nobody's living here. Would you be interested in selling it? Well, if they're ready, if they're done, I'm getting that deal. And for me, that's what driving for dollars does that no other lead source that I've been able to work accomplishes. It is as efficient as that does. So anyway,
Yeah.
hopefully that helps. But I think timing for me is a huge thing with driving for dollars.
Man, You're telling me stuff I agree with 100%. Huge fan of Driving for Dollars. It's changed my life, it's changed your life, and it's helping change a lot of students all across the country. So again, thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach.